Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Daybreak, and time now to get into our social square. We started a bit early because we have an expanded panel to help us look at some of the issues facing young people with 3 days and counting to International Youth Day. This year, the theme is transforming education, which is highlighting efforts to make education more relevant, equitable, and inclusive for all youth. It sounds very rosy, but when you look at the numbers in terms of young people in Kenya and access to opportunities or jobs that they actually have, the numbers are worrying. So we want to ask young people this week, and actually today, and you who's watching as well, is there anything to celebrate this time round with International Youth Day slated for Monday? Is there anything to celebrate in your lives or in people that you know? Please let us know. And that's actually the question we want to pose to our audience right now. And I'll start with you, gentlemen. Start by introducing yourself. Tell us what you do. And then you don't look very happy this morning. Is there anything to celebrate with 3 days and counting to International Youth Day? Tuanze nawe tafadhali.
Okay, mimi naitwa Livingstone Sunday. Nafanya kazi ya boda boda. But I think hakuna kitu ya kucelebrate. Because so far vijana wako jobless. Because in fact hata ukifanya kazi ya boda boda bado hakuna ile income unapata. Ni kustruggle.
Na una struggle kwa sababu ya nini? Is it the penalties? Is it operation ngumu unashikwa? Ama ni economy tu ndio haina pesa?
Okay, economy haina pesa. Because ule mtu akupanda boda boda hawako. So ni kustruggle. So wewe jua tu vijana wako jobless, hata wale vijana nafaa wapande hawako.
Okay. So ukisikia serikali imeleta opportunities and there's a list of them, and we had a show on Monday on the same as well. Wewe unaona vipi?
Kuna zile matenda
watu hawajui ama si za kila mtu.
I think serikali usema iko na opportunity, but hiyo I think ni kama story who ana make. Because so far ukiangalia kwa mtandao wanasema kuna job, kusio ati mara kwanza ama mara pili ama mara ngapi, but wanasema kuna job, but the main thing hakuna. Because in fact hata ukiapply either wanachukua watu wao juu kuna watu wamesoma, but ukiapply wanachukua watu wao.
So unaona wewe si mtu wa watu kama ni hivyo.
Maybe lazima kuna ile connection. Mimi ni wa government, but ile connection kuna ile hiyo chain. Ndio inafanywa kwa mtu wa, but sahi atufeel ka si ni wa Kenya.
Na saizi hata masomo pia ukiangalia ina muhimu kweli, because kuna zile degrees wanasema sasa they are useless na umeshafanya course karibu 4 years.
I think masomo ni ya maana, but kulingana na Kenya sahi ni kama imekuwa useless. But masomo ni important. But kwa Kenya sahi ni kama masomo hakuna. Because ukijaribu kuangalia hata sahi wale wanafanya bado the same, wale wako kwa boda boda, wale wako kwa makanga, ni wale watu, kuna watu wengi wamesoma but hawafiki mahali. So alafu kuna zile madegree zile ziko imbo. Mtu anaanza leo, kesho akona degree, so unashindwa how.
Okay. So wewe mwenyewe ungependa ni nini ungependa kuona by the way? Serikali ikikuita kuambie tupe recommendations.
Ningependa kuona. Cha kwanza nilikuwa najaribu kuangalia mambo ya retirement, wajaribu ku-reduce. Kuweka ikuwe 60, na venye sahi tuko sahi Kenya, sahi mayouth ni kama tuko 60% to 70%. Hiyo mambo ya
so that wazee waende nyumbani mapema. Is that what you're trying to
introduce ile kitu ya contract? Mtu anamaliza, anaenda yake, kijana mwingine anachukua. Because sasa hii waiga sahi ukipiga hesabu, mtu kama ana retire na 60 na mtu amezaliwa sahi, ule mtu amezaliwa sahi atakuwa na miaka ngapi
before huu mwenye ameretire?
So it makes sense. So sahi ile kitu government ingefanya introduce ile mambo ya mtu anafanya contract, either afanye for 3 years na apewe pesa mingi naende haraka, ndio mwingine achukue hiyo chance. Because hakuna haja whereby mtu anakaa for hizo miaka zote. In fact sasa wameongeza sijui ku retirement sijui ni 65 ama ni
it was a few more years added. That's right.
So wanaongeza, so after tumekaka itafika 100. So imagine kama mtu amemwandika na 30 ataretire akiwa na miaka ngapi? Hebu pige hesabu.
Umechekesha the next person next to you. Wacha tusikie maoni yake. Okay, that was Livingstone Sunday. Go ahead, please introduce yourself first.
My name is Agnes Ibarra. I work with various youth organizations and government with communities, with the primary focus of social empowerment amongst youth and political inclusion. I like what Livingstone has said. I'm going to start right off with his proposition about retiring people early. I think it's a brilliant idea. You've asked whether we have very many things to celebrate. If you have
what are you celebrating
about,
personally as International Youth Day comes up?
It will be a very, very great disservice not to recognize the efforts that the government has done We have various projects. We have Kenya Youth Empowerment and Opportunities programs that absorb a lot of youth on the ground. Right now, they were working with about 280,000 youths. We have the Ajira Digital that is absorbing the youth that have a lot of interest in the digital space. There is also a program called White Box that actually gives youth the opportunity to actually pitch their ideas in the ICT sector. We have YAGPO, I had Trevor
and
mention.
White Box is available across the country?
Yes.
So
if you just log into
can
the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, you can actually find the details uploaded. You have YAGPO and various many people like what Trevor mentioned, very many youth are getting involved in business.
Are they?
Yes.
YAGPO?
Yes.
Youth access to government procurement opportunities has been marred by massive irregularities.
The irregularities
Mostly the people who are there, it's not the ordinary youth from Kibera. It's youth who are affiliated to someone, either PS, a CS, or a governor.
You know, Trevor, it would be quite improper to further cluster youth and say that a youth in Muthaiga cannot take advantage of YAGPO and only a youth in Kibera can.
But the question is, who was it meant for?
Opportunities are what can I say? They are self-propelled. You can't further cluster a youth and tell them that because we don't have majority of Kibera youth taking advantage of YAGPO, then the ones living in maybe upper class neighborhoods.
But doesn't that tie into what Livingstone was saying? If you don't have the connections, then you're doomed?
No, I think it's a multi-factor issue. You have to recognize that not every youth is interested in business. We have guys who are doing transport, like what Livingstone is saying. We have artists who really want to get into music. Okay. What we really need to focus on is ensuring that whatever interest our youth have, they're enabled by government, by the systems, and they're empowered to really take up whatever their interests are.
Do you think, and maybe this is my last question before I move to the next person, that there are certain youth who are advantaged because of their upbringing to access these opportunities? And so while government might feel that they're reaching out to all youth, the reality is there is a section of youth in our society that are just more advantaged generally. Whether educational background, whether being closer to the source. If the ministry's headquarters are in Nairobi and you live in Nairobi, how much easier is it for you to access those services as opposed to someone who lives in Ghana or Kerio Valley or just somewhere that's really remote?
Wahiga, it's a sad state of the social system globally. The people who take advantage of opportunities are the people who get involved. So right now, what we need to do is actually push the youth to come get involved in the spaces. If your interest is business, show up.
Do you
the world is ruled by people who show up.
Are they driven enough? Are the youth driven enough?
They are. They just need someone to hold their hand and show them the opportunities, and that's what is happening. More youth are getting, what can I say, informed. More youth are getting involved. So right now we just need to push more numbers into these spaces and make sure that no one is left outside. Who
will hold their hands? That's a question we'll be talking about a bit later. I want to interrupt you because I want to
react to Livingstone
briefly, like 1 minute, please.
Yes, let me react.
We have many other voices here. Go ahead.
Livingstone has talked about something, and I actually was having this discussion with someone earlier about retiring people early. If right now anyone above 55 to 60 to 65 can be given his retirement package, we will be creating about 100,000 opportunities to absorb the youth that are right now unemployed. So yeah, so he's on to something.
He's on to something. Good. Okay. Give us your name, please, and tell us a little bit about if you are celebrating or what you're celebrating as we count down to International Youth Day.
My name is Lawrence Kabunyi. I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler?
Yes, but I don't have a jet, sadly. I don't think I should really be celebrating National Youth Day. And I like what my colleague Agnes is talking about. Actually, she was my colleague at campus. I like all these opportunities that she's talking about. But we need to realize that not all the youth want to get into employment. There are people who want to do business. I can tell you for free, I know people talk about youth fund and all those things. Government is stifling the efforts of the youths. And I'll give you an example. If you want to get into the manufacturing industry, you have to take your sample or your prototype to KEBS. Even before someone looks at your product, even before they dismantle it and test for toxins or whatever, someone is already asking for a bribe. Now, I'm taking my prototype there because I want the certificate of quality so that I can approach an investor and tell them, okay, my product has been certified. Can you provide me the funds to kickstart operations? So actually, the government is pretending to be an enabler.
Pretending?
Yes.
Okay.
But actually, most of the government agencies we have, especially the ones that do licensing, are the stumbling blocks to the youth.
Go ahead.
Don't you think it's an institutional breakdown rather than a government issue? Because, for example, if you send your child to go and buy you sugar and they just use that money in between here to do other things,
yes,
who's to blame? Is it you or your child?
It's the kid.
There you go. So it's the institutions that have a problem.
But
the
government has oversight
money
over its institutions. Yes.
So they are also failing.
Yes.
In 1 minute, because you said there are a lot of young people who want to do business, what has been your business experience like?
It's been terrible.
Nothing to smile about?
Yes.
Give us an example and help us understand for those who may not have heard your story.
I'll start with pottery, the pottery business, because I've grown up in a pottery farming. Last year, around the time when we had the Mexican maize fiasco, there was a time when the birds started getting sick. Production went down by almost 50%. The birds started dying. When we decided to take them for testing at Kabete, the issue came up that the problem was the feeds. Now, someone imported bad maize. They knew that production would go down. So instead of correcting the issue about the maize, they went to Uganda and brought eggs. Trevor, let me ask you, what's the distance between Nairobi and Kampala? Let's say it's around 400 kilometers. So why would someone transport an egg all the way from Kampala up to Nairobi and sell it for less than 5 shillings or 6 bob? And so a farmer from Kiambu can only sell it at 9 shillings to break even.
To break even,
yes,
not even to make a profit.
Yes.
So whose fault is that? Is it the production process of the farmer from Kiambu?
It's the production cost. Because the animal feeds in this country, the tax is too high.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Before we get some reactions from our panel, because I know they're hearing what's happening, you want to take one more?
Yeah, Billion Gio, I think, has the microphone back there, but it's just start by introducing yourself, even as much as you call him Billion already.
My name is Billion Gio. I work in Mathare. I have a resource and leadership center in Mathare, and I also lead the youth wing for movement, MDG, movement for development and growth. So I don't have anything on behalf of my people, the Mathare people. We don't have anything to smile about or to celebrate today, because if you look around, if you walk around, we've even created bases where we discuss how we can get into, we can seek employment, how we can get into business, but there are no those opportunities. A few months ago, we invited the guy who is in charge of the youth fund around to just tell young guys how they can be able to get the youth fund. And if you look at, she was talking about those opportunities being there, but the right people getting those opportunities. So for us in Mathare, we don't have anything to smile about.
So is it a lack of opportunities or a lack of information, Billy?
I think it's both lack of information, and even for the few that were interested, it takes, the process is too long, and some of them cannot bear. And right now, as the situation is, we need a quick fix, because so many young people are sitting idle, and to an extent where they're saying they can do any job. You know, that is so dangerous when a young person can say that mimi nitafanya kazi yeyote. So we need really to fix, to have a quick fix to this problem.
And there are those who are arguing that the youth are also a bit complacent. They don't want to take up the challenges because, for example, if you're going to apply for a tender, you have to make sure everything is clear. You have your registration, you have your ID, you have your certificate of compliance with taxes. So there are those who are saying it's the youth who are rather complacent.
Actually, let me broaden the discussion. Not even youth, generally a Kenyan work culture. I recently attended a workshop where people were being trained about how to run their own companies. And these were not youth, these were people who were even over 35. And the organizers of the conference complained that for a lot of the companies that came to them, these companies did not keep minutes. They did not have documentation. So they'll be asked, where are your board statements for the last meeting you had to give us sort of an idea of the way forward. These are adults. I'm not talking about youth. I'm talking about adults. They had not learned basic bookkeeping for companies. If adults are not doing it with the opportunities that they've had in the time, some might ask, could that be something that is inadvertently affecting young people who are getting into business? Could that be sort of the challenges? I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I think because we learn from those who've been there, so it's been a general problem. So we cannot blame the youth if at all everybody is going through that. So it's how our system is fixed, that we don't go through, we don't like going through vigorous process, and most of us even don't read because of because of the time and we need things to be done.
Okay.
So we can't blame there is a youth problem, but if we know there is the problem and we have this challenge, we need to see how do we make it simpler for young people in Mathare, in Kibra, to be able to access these opportunities.
Fair enough. We'll hear the other voices shortly, and I know we are due for a break, but Raymond, come in. You've heard what young people are saying here. What are your thoughts, and what are you celebrating this International Youth Week?
Waiga, I'm really celebrating, and I want to...
Really celebrating?
Yeah, really celebrating.
Okay.
I don't know.
Tell us why.
This guy is a very harsh mazir on government, and I don't know where Sunday has woken up. I don't know whether he's from Uganda or he's from Tanzania to walk into the country, but what am I saying? First, let me lay a disclaimer. Corruption is a national crisis, and Waiga and Trevor, you know what... All the national leaders, we are agreeing that there are some few things that must be fixed in this country about our culture. Because most of the things that we have laid here underpins on issues to do with bribes and how this thing is hard. It's not only hard for the young people. So first of all, I must underscore that's something that we must fix, all of us. Then another thing, duty bearers. It's not only government who is a duty bearer. We have private sector's duty bearers. We have the youth themselves as duty bearers. I want to tell my friend Sandy, it would not be okay to say that if you walk today in the morning, all the borders are not carrying people. They are carrying people. I know when it comes to quality of the jobs, about the 3D jobs, demeaning, derogative, dehumanizing.
Expensive.
Yeah, expensive. That one we can talk on another day. But Waiga and Trevor, I'll tell you, there are hundreds of young people whose lives have been transformed. I wish, if at all we would be given an opportunity to bring all beneficiaries here, we would have filled this place. But I like the conversation that we are having here.
How would you compare the beneficiaries with the youth population in Kenya?
I must admit, I know we are doing our census and we are going to be getting the numbers, but over 19 million young people in this country. So when we look at 12 billion what Youth Fund has disbursed in the last decade, which translates to around 1.5 million young people, I must say it's a drop in the ocean. But again, another thing is, Waiga and Trevor, government is not an employer. Government creates an enabling environment. We must underscore that. Sunday talks about retirement. How many civil servants do we have in this country? Over 64,000 only. So let me tell you, even if right now we just made a call in Uhuru Park that all civil servants leave your desks, and we have young people fill them. Over 19 million and 64,000 people, there would be nothing, actually. There would be nothing. So I think
hopefully those young people would hire drivers, would hire those great spillover effect of employment.
You see what Sunday says is that now let them come in, few people eat, they go. You see, those are some of the things that we're trying to fix so that we have a country that makes everybody celebrated. But I must admit, there are few challenges. And that one I would say, there are challenges, but I believe we have an open government. That's why there is a conversation. Ojiwa is doing very well, courtesy of government. This is a country whereby, in terms of ICT and openness, you can say anything as a young person. Huduma centers. Let me tell you, long time ago, Waiga, to get a certificate from Kiambu, or let me talk about the outlying areas like Marsabit, you had to travel to Nairobi for days. What happens right now in our backyards? We have Huduma centers. You can get those your certificates at your centers. There is complacency. There was a time I just took a random check, went to Meru County to visit, pay a courtesy call to Governor Kiraitu Murungi. I hope he's watching. You know what he told me after I pushed the issue of the youth in the boardroom? Wahiga, what he told me, Bwana Secretary, can we go down here? We see how tenders are being opened. Out of the AGPO, only 2 young people applied. Even if we are saying that there is manipulation, how can procurement officers manipulate 200 billion of tenders? You know how tenders are tedious. We can't. So complacency and perception that young people have towards government must change. Some of us, we applied for jobs. The first job that I got as a CEO in government, we used to be with Wahiga here on this station. And I applied. And first of all, Wahiga, what I was told, that job has somebody. So even from where I sat, I said, this job has got somebody. I applied for the job. I was shortlisted. I got the job. So even first of all, I would want to say I'm a testimony of somebody who became a CEO in government without knowing anybody. Because I went, whether there could be somebody, but I performed. And they said, I think even if we could be having somebody in the inside, I don't know. So young people must not be complacent. We must knock those doors.
Okay, let's get
Are you also going to government now? That
for me, I was doing my job, interviewing and asking questions. Wanja, what do you have? Please introduce yourself first. And did you introduce?
Yes.
Actually, introduce yourself.
I did. I was so much on Sunday before I I'm Raymond Ocheng, Secretary Youth, State Department for Youth.
Okay. Good morning, Kenya. My name is Wanja Maina. I consider myself, I would like to describe myself as a blogger, a writer. I also work for young disabled youths in Nairobi County in the Office of the Woman Representative. I would like to start by a proverb that says that when a hyena wants to eat its children, it accuses them of smelling like goats. I'm finding it extremely problematic that one day the government woke up, they realized all of us are between the age of 18 to 35. They panicked. They were actually very scared. So they started saying, you know, the reason why you guys don't have jobs, it's because you cannot perform. I saw another member of parliament who came here and said, some of you have degrees and you cannot write an application letter, which is actually untrue. So these people have started now knowing that these young people are many, they are jobless, they are everywhere in our shopping centers, and therefore they have started saying, so that we make them look problematic, we have to tell them they are complacent, we have to tell them they are lazy, which is untrue.
So are you saying there's a scheme to brand youth in a particular way?
Correct. I saw it. Even the last time I tweeted, I saw a whole panel of people from government, and the theme was the same. In fact, they had rehearsed that young people are problematic. These young people they are not. Wahiga, when you're talking about employment, the definition of employment is ability and willingness to work. I know very many young people who are able and willing to work. Speaking of the issue that I've heard from government, I think I find the moment we sit down and we start saying, you know, you are the problem. This one is to blame. When it comes to the issue of young people of a country, and we know these people are agile, they're energetic, they have access to computers and so on. I think it's an issue of us saying, actually, there's a problem. So the people from government, instead of actually acknowledging that there's a problem, they are trying to tell the young people, you people, you're bad. So from
is that what this young man next to you was saying?
That is exactly what he said on my left. On my left, he tried to tell us, you see, there's a huge inequality between young people. Yeah. Just because Wanja is here and can access your station and can speak here and there, it is not a reflection that all young people, all disabled people, all young women have access. And if you look at the numbers, they're actually troubling. And when it comes to this issue of employment, and I was telling Wahiga the other day, this thinking that we can entrepreneur ourselves out of poverty is actually not even scientific. If you look at statistics, most of the businesses actually collapse in the first year. So the government people, because they have panicked because of seeing too many people between the age of 18 to 35, they have woken up and they have told them, you know, you have to start small businesses. Why do they want young people to start small businesses? Why not big businesses? When you are telling people to start small businesses, you are telling them, you just make a bit of money to eat, but you're not telling them what are the other things that comes with a job. An insurance, ability to educate your children. No wonder some of us are old and not married, because we can't even feed ourselves, leave alone feeding our children and our dependents. We can't even have small things like insurance. And then the next day the government is telling us, you know, there's universal health care, you know, there's this and that. There's a huge disconnect. most of the young people, and I go to even the informal settlement, all of them are saying, hii mambo ya serikali ni kipindre, which is a sheng for a kipindi where they rehearse and say, you people, you are problematic. You don't know. So, the young people of this country are not problematic.
There are initiatives that are there. Yagpo is there. Jira is there. There's now also the issue of the white boxes there. Kenya Youth Empowerment Program. There are initiatives that are actually being propelled by the government. And they know enough.
Working in the office of a women. Right?
You see, then again, I beg to ask, just because you got a CEO job, does not mean all young people got a CEO job. So when you are looking at the problem, let us not say now just because, let us look at the general problem. And I like it how Wahiga linked this issue to education. Then it begs the question, what is the kind of training that the young people are getting so that you are saying they come to work, they can't perform. Even you guys, when you came to this media house, you are also trained on the job. In my view, the people who are there have started to make a drama that is meant to make young people even, and that's why we are even having issues like mental health, unemployment, depression. So in my view, the young people are ready and willing to work, and it's all of us to sit and say, what is the problem?
We'll come back and get solutions. So she's very clear on what the problem is, but we want to hear solutions. We'll get that from her. But I know those at the back also want to talk, so we can get them when we come back. Yeah,
let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a view from all of them. And also, there's a lot of feedback coming through. 22422 is the SMS line. At Trevor Mbija, this is NTV Kenya. At Wega Maura, use the hashtag Daybreak. Let's put up some of them coming through to our studios right now, really quick, and then
4 tweets, I believe, and possibly some SMSs.
We just let you know what you think in terms of the youth empowerment. Has the government done enough? Do you think there should be more? What are your solutions? What are you suggesting as recommendations? We have Wakariti one says young people in Boni have seen schools closed for over 5 years. What is expected of that generation that has been cut off from basic services? A recent decision backtracked an affirmative action to train local teachers who can access those villages.
It's a big problem. Closed for 5 years. Okay, Engineer Lazaro, the news of useless degree courses in our universities is a clear indication the government is doing little to help youth achieve their goals. How can a public university be left to run their education curriculum like private property? Okay, Engineer Lazaro, that's your feedback.
Interesting question there. Evis Ronnie says a lady has just said that the government creates jobs for about 280,000 youth. Sincerely speaking, Kenya, it's about luck.
Well, okay. K.E. Danvers, the system is already messed up. The key to success is still the same, but the padlock was replaced. Kenyan youth should wake up and smell the coffee. There are no jobs. Instead, youth should think about business opportunities.
There goes the business conversation again. And
can you entrepreneur yourself out of poverty?
That's a big question.
So many conflicting views. Okay, let's take that quick break. I know we have a lot more to hear from some of our other audience members when we return. We'll be right back.
Yeah.